All right, welcome everyone. I'm super excited to be here. This is the longer life is thrilling is a topic that we are incredibly passionate about. We've been working on it for over the last 5 years on specific various different aspects of it. And we're delighted to share with you our work in the last 2 years. So Aisha is in New York City. Our team is here. Maltem is here. Mimi is here. I don't see Leah yet, but she's, I think, joining in.
I'm here.
You are? Okay, yay! I'm in San Diego, so I was just telling everyone if you can rename your name with your location, add your location to it, that would be wonderful to just see where everyone's calling from. So we will have a conversation around all our findings. We hope to do that for about 45 minutes, and then we'll leave 10 minutes to Q&A. But meanwhile, if you have any questions, please put it on in the chat, any comments. We'll be monitoring the chat box, and we can certainly answer that during this time or leave it to the end. So with that, let's get started.
Great. Seda, thank you for welcoming everyone and welcome everyone from my side as well, from New York City. It's so great to see some of our dearest friends, some new, some old. So thank you for coming and making time for us. I would like to get us started by introducing Seda, who's one of my dearest friends and collaborators. And Seda is the Director of Strategy and Growth at Birsel+Seck. And one of her superpowers, she has many superpowers, but one of them is that she has a hybrid mind. She's both creative and analytical, both left and right brain. And she's a courageous team player. I've never seen her say no to something. And she makes things happen. And she has an MBA from the University of San Diego, and she's now back in San Diego after living in New York for how many years? Brooklyn?
8 years, yes, just came back.
She actually, if you can see her in her background, she has a map of Brooklyn.
And is here.
And we are both graduates of the Middle East Technical University in Ankara. Seda from urban planning, and I'm from industrial design with a couple of years of difference. So
thank you, Aisha, for that introduction. So I'll do the same since we're co-hosting this. Aisha typically doesn't require a lot of introduction. She's a design extraordinaire, but I'll do that to the best of my ability. She's from Turkey, just like I am, and she came to New York City with a Fulbright scholarship to her master's in industrial design from Pratt Institute. She's rightfully proud to be one of the few women designers, practicing women designers in the field. And Birsel+Seck is the only design studio that is women and Black owned. And she is one of the Fast Company's 100 most creative people in business. In fact, we did 2 weeks ago, we did a Fast Company engagement. They love Aisha, so most of us do. So, and she's world's #1 coach in life design. So if you have any life design questions, please go to Aisha. And with clients like Amazon, Facebook, Herman Miller, Staples, Target, Toyota, she's a regular contributor to Harvard Business Review, Inc.com, and she's also the author of Design the Life You Love, and a design evangelist to teach everyone how to think like a designer about our life, which is our common and shared project. And so with that, I'll talk a little bit about Birsel+Seck for those of you who may not know us. We are a design and innovation studio based in Manhattan, and we work with Fortune 500 companies on product design, development, and innovation, as well as nonprofits and startups. And our superpower as collectively is to think differently and to think to make complex simple through systems thinking. So with that, I'll get into long life. So
And said maybe just sorry.
go ahead.
For everyone who just joined, again, Seda and I presenting tonight, but I just want to also acknowledge our amazing collaborators who are now around the Zoom table. So Leah Kaplan, who is one of my oldest collaborators and also oldest friends, who's here, and Meltem Parlak, who is also here, who has been working very diligently on this project. Mimi, who's also here, yay. And I think Céline is also joining us. And then we have our friends from TSF and Alive, and we'll introduce them shortly as well.
Great, thank you. So so this project about longer life, it's actually this is going to be a kind of one of the most meaningful projects that we have worked on, and Aisha jump in about that, but really it's and one that truly changed how we thought about life, life design and product design. So and long life has really become one of the defining realities of this century. And I'll give you a little bit context about why we're talking about long life. So by 2050, 22% of Americans will be 65 and older. And if you take the people who are age 50 and above in America, that would be the world's third largest economy if they were counted as their own country. And so more people are living longer, healthier lives, which lets them continue to work and contribute to the economy. You see this in your daily life with yourself or your parents or your families and friends. And with that, we have been incredibly interested in how we can actually embrace this part of life with optimism and with shifting the perspective from a lack of to the opportunities of long life. So with that, Aisha, if you can get us started on our partnership with TSF and Alive and why older adults.
Yes, absolutely. So TSF is the SCAN Foundation, and here we have Eric Tai from the SCAN Foundation. Eric, do you want to say a couple words about the SCAN Foundation and your role?
Sure. Thank you for having me, and welcome everyone. The SCAN Foundation is based out here in Southern California, and our mission is to help older adults age with dignity and independence. And usually the foundation tries to achieve that by working at a policy level with lawmakers, and also by trying to transform the healthcare system, making it more user-friendly and provide better service to older adults. And over the last few years, we've been more engaged with various design firms, Aisha's firm being one of the ones that we work closely with, to try to become more design centric and really understand what older adults are experiencing as they age and integrate that into all of our work.
Eric, thank you so much. And we also have Molly. Molly, may I put you on the spot?
Sure, hello.
And Molly is joining us from Alive Ventures, a newly hatched venture studio. So Molly, you want to tell us a little bit about Alive as well?
Well, I imagine you're going to do that too. So I don't want to say too much, but yeah, you know, Alive is creating companies that magnify the joys of later life. With some help from the Birsel+Seck team, we did a bunch of research to understand what types of things older adults want out of later life. and are working to reimagine and shift the ecosystem of innovation that's happening for them.
Great, thank you, Molly. And so Bruce Chernoff, who is the president at the SCAN Foundation, couldn't join us tonight, and John Zapolsky, who's the founder of Alive Ventures. Well, John is an old friend, Bruce is a new friend, and John is in Cairo tonight, so he couldn't join us either. But we have collaborated like on all our projects. We believe in working with our friends and becoming friends with our collaborators and clients. And this project has become, as Seda was saying, one of our probably most meaningful projects in the last 5 years. And you know, I was born and raised in Turkey in a culture that really respects the elderly. We revere older people, and there's really a hierarchy to, you know, to our families. And when I came to the States, part of the reason I came to New York was to escape that hierarchy and to be able to be my own person. But then as times, you know, as I also, you know, mature and grew up in the States and became a mom myself, and I started to realize there is something to respecting and embracing your elders. And I was reminded of this recently during a visit to my hometown, Izmir, with my kids, where my 16-year-old daughter, Awa, said to me, you know, Mom, in Turkey, people really respect older people. And I was like, I'm so glad like she can see that and it's somehow going into her as well. I did grow up listening to my parents and loving my grandparents, and learning from them is a great advantage. And actually these days, I mean, in the last 5 to 10 years, I have become, it's almost like I've come full circle and become closer to my parents, closer to my aunts and uncles, and they are the wise people I learned from. And now with this project, it's almost like that family has grown to encompass everyone that we've co-designed with and what we've learned from them as we co-designed life together with people who are 65 and older. And what we've learned from them is very simple and very profound. And Seda and I are very excited to share what we've learned with you tonight in detail. So Seda, back at you.
Yeah, great. So maybe just a quick overview of what's this project about. So I'll give you a little bit of that. So as part of learning about what older adults want and need, truly what they want and need, we set out on a research and design project in late 2018. And which took us across the United States to rural towns in Mississippi and to border towns in Southern California, where I am, actually like just 20 miles south, and also big metropolitans like Los Angeles and New York City, and the boroughs of New York City, as well as suburbs of New Jersey and Long Island and smaller towns. And through that, we held 15 co-design sessions, and with hundreds of older adults coming to these sessions. And they were about 4 hours long and had a lot of social time as well as a co-design time. So with that, Ayşe, so I mean, in your Design the Life You Love work, you work with people, teenagers. And then with the Design the Life You Love with older adults, you work with people who are in their 90s. So you have this big range, right? And to help them design lives they love. Are there any recurring themes that you see as you work with people? And what makes late life unique, if you can, expand all the way from 9 to 90?
Yeah, so actually, you know, I think many of you know that even though we are a design studio and innovation studio based in New York, I also, and we have a design thinking methodology, deconstruction, reconstruction. I also believe that our life is our biggest project and have set out to see if we can design the lives that we love using design process and tools. And we started doing that 10 years ago. And through that, my biggest learning was that people are incredibly, extraordinarily creative. But they do need, like all of us who are creative, they do need a process and set of tools. And this learning actually has moved us as a design studio to learn to co-design with end users. And really our insight was, if people are so incredibly creative about designing their life, can they design a subset of their life? And in a couple of years ago, I guess said that it was like 4 or 5 years ago, I was invited to give a talk on designing your life at Amazon. And as part of their internal conference. And there, after we made this presentation, as we were leaving, I talked to our host, Ana De Pinta, and I said to her in the moment, Seda and I and the team, we were really interested in designing for older people. And it was becoming kind of like an in-house passion. But we didn't really have a client project around it. And I don't know why, but at the end of my presentation, as we were leaving, I said to Anna, hey, Anna, by the way, if you ever work on aging, we're really interested in that. And I think our interest came from the fact that our parents were aging, and we kind of saw, we had a lot of empathy for them, and we kind of saw that there was nothing really well designed in terms of products and services for older people. So what happened is, this rarely ever happens, but Anna looked at us, Seda and I were there, looked at us and said, I actually have something for you. And that was the beginning of our kind of diving into the aging space and co-designing with older people their life. And in fact, us meeting Bruce Chernoff, the president of the SCAN Foundation, was also through our Amazon project, where a couple of years later, Amazon did another conference, and Bruce was there as well, saw us in action and thought what we were doing, this approach of co-designing with people was interesting, and here we are. So if you think back, like even 50 years ago, if you think of your parents and their parents, people didn't live that long, 65, 70, 75 was considered a long life. And this has changed. So now for us, living into 70s, into your 70s is considered normal, 80s, even 90s. So there is this emerging 20, 25 year lifespan that didn't exist before. And people are living courageously this new span of life. And in fact, Seda coined this term. They are the astronauts of their life, right, Seda?
Yes, they're going to places that no one else has been,
And they have this incredible endurance, vigorous adaptability, loads of courage. And a lot of older people simply, thrive by creating their own workarounds, because we as designers and companies and as society, we haven't really taken care of them. So our work with the SCAN Foundation was truly how could we help these people 65 and older design their life? And instead of observing them or asking them questions or assuming what they need, why don't we ask them to design their life and use design thinking tools, and together we can understand what they need. And so that was the foundation of our work for the last 2 years.
Yeah, so what you say is interesting, Aisha. Like you took me back to that conference, and that delightful exchange that, as you say, almost never happens. But, it happened that day. I think I want to add to why I think, and the SCAN Foundation folks are here too, wanted to work with us. But I think it's because of this power of co-design, right? Instead of being sort of silent observers of lives, and and then going back to the studio and reimagining life, we took the process of how we work to the churches and to senior centers, and to actually a mayor's office in Mississippi. The small town, they gave us the mayor's office because there was like no other big place to have this, and libraries and so on and so forth. So I think powered by your Design the Life You Love book, Aisha, we through this creating a co-design environment was really critical for us, because both with our own internal exploration from 5 years ago of like really as our parents got older and we're looking at what is out there for them to really engage in a meaningful way with, for relationships, for work, for vitality. We started coming empty-handed, and there were really not a lot of graceful experiences that were really geared for older people. And through these workshops, there were 4 hours. It was as much a experience design of the sessions to create these moments of connection, as well as creativity. And then be able to really have intent around how we design that experience in a graceful, meaningful, and engaging way for this group. Some of the things we did was like, come be a designer for a day, or really mixed up social with learning and also creativity. One of our principles around experience design was it was give and take. So we weren't there to just take information, but it was also to give information, or give a unique process that people can take home and teach their grandkids, or if they want to share their new life manifesto. We created this kind of environment for that. So maybe let's get to the meat of it. So Aisha, what did we learn from older people? If you can tell us, like, just some bullet points.
Yes, Sid, I'm so glad you reminded me of the give and take piece of it. That this was not a one-way learning, but this was an exchange. And the other thing that you mentioned that I want to emphasize, it was really important that as we co-design, and I could almost hear Leah going like, make sure you talk about community. It was really important that our co-design sessions were also environments where older people can come together, feel that they were connected to each other. They were not alone with their challenges and problems, and that by designing together, that we were also creating a community for ourselves and for them. So what this community told us is that, and that's what I wanted to go, where I wanted to go when I was saying, what we learned is as simple as it's profound, is that they basically told us, if you want to understand what we want, think no further than what you want, because we want the same things. What we want is love, well-being, purpose, and friendship. And, you know, before we started this project, when, you know, as a team, we read up on a lot of the research that had come before us, the products that we learned about. Our sense of aging was very much need-based. And nobody talked about love, nobody talked about friendship, at least to the degree that we learned about it. Nobody talked about work or purpose and well-being. And so one of the things that we learned from older people is, you know, they're resilient, and they have what Don Norman, the author of Design of Everyday Things, calls crystallized intelligence. And so they do notice small things in life. They're grateful for waking up each day, and they're at peace with who they are, and they live in the present. And as I say these things, what I'm thinking is, these are the very same things that I want, and that I've heard many of you want. So if we dive into work, for example, one of our insights was that we, as younger people, we live to work, right? We work and we, you know, earn a living from that. Older people, actually, they work to live. They work hard to stay alive. And but they also, in this time in their lives, they want to be bosses, their own bosses. They're masters of their time and work. And often they have so much to do that they say there's no time for everything that I want to do, which is counterintuitive, because many of them are actually retired. And we hate that word, retired, right? Seda, and you know, we said retirement doesn't capture at all this phase in life. It's about re-energizement. There's so many people that we've met who are beginning new projects, new companies, new ways to, you know, earn new degrees. So they love, first of all, they love what they do. Whether it's working on the book they've always wanted to work on, or teaching holiday traditions to the younger generations, or growing produce in a community garden, and then you know, sending their produce all over the States. And so there's this incredible sense of purpose and meaning. And Seda will give some more detailed insights. But so one is about work, and how many of them work to either to start something new or to finish what they've started in this time, during this time. The other thing was about friendships. You know, what we learned is that friendships are not found, but they're made. They're literally made. So one of our insights, and the way we talk about it, is what we need are friendship factories to manufacture friendship. Because most of the social constructs that are that help us have friends and create friendships, schools, offices, our children and their schools and their friends, all of these constructs kind of go away as you grow older, right? And so you can't, you need to come up with new ways of manufacturing your friends. So friendships are made intentionally. And one of the things that a participant told us, that those of you who come to our Design the Life You Love virtual teas hear us say this every time, is she taught us that you need to make friends who are 9 years older and 9 years younger than you. And this stuck to us. So this notion of intergenerational friendship made over common interest and in places that are neither your home nor your work, and that there is a lack of these spaces or places to make friends. And the third place is exactly, and how much they're needed. Okay, Seda, any ads, or I'm going to talk about love?
Yeah, and I actually want to just talk a little bit about like love. You know, we loved hearing. So love session, I ran that, and it was in LA. And we have for the experience design purposes, we said, okay, we want 15 to 18 people, no more than that. After that, it becomes sort of difficult to hear everyone and participate, because we want this to be very much of a sharing session rather than teaching or instructional session, right? I had to close the door because everyone just came to design the love life you love. And I think we had like topped at 30, and we're like, no, we can't have anyone anymore, please, you know, or, you know, got some new chairs and things like that. So, so one of the things that, for instance, women, especially women in LA, told us that they learn to love themselves first. And that way, and not necessarily, you know, committed to shifting themselves or changing themselves, and to be able to find love and be at peace with who they are first. In Mississippi, when we were talking about better experiences of work and purpose, people told us their purpose is community. And so whatever they do as work, whether that's cleaning someone, their neighbor's yard, or you know, putting a additional church building together, and so on and so forth, that's their work, and that's the purpose, and that's how they build community as well. In Bonita, California, which is right here, I think almost 6 miles away from the Mexican border, they told us about friendships and how you know, creating fresh friendships is about projects of common interests, and really approaching it as projects of common interest to make new friendships. And then finally, in New Jersey, people told us to think differently about vitality and wellness, and to feel reinvigorated or to feel alive. They start new projects, and it makes them feel young again. So. So with that, Aisha, what surprised you the most about this almost 2-year long journey, and which took us to lots of different places and lots of new conversations?
I think, I mean, one was the simplicity of we're just the same. It's a no-brainer, but that's not our understanding of aging. Our preconception of aging is you age and then suddenly like everything changes. Everything changes, yes, and yet we are the same. And so that, and the other thing was, you know, because this time phase this new life phase didn't exist before. Once you put that into the equation, you realize that life now has kind of a whole new cycle. So if you think of like childhood and early adulthood, and you know, your childhood and early adulthood is with your family, and your parents are kind of like your guides. And then you have, once you leave your home in your early adults, before you get married and create your own family, there's that period in life that's about, you know, let's say from your 20s to your 30s, where you're a young adult and you're quite independent. And then you create a family again, if we just go like through a traditional cycle of life. Now you are the parent and you have responsibilities, you need to take care of your children, etc. you have to work and that's your life. You need a bigger house, you need bigger earnings and all those things. And then your kids leave you and then you're an empty nester again. And now, and that's where this cycle starts to appear. You have this 20, 25 years where again, you're free of responsibilities and your kids have left. And yes, you're old parents, we feel responsible for our kids no matter what the age, but like you can downsize your home. You can travel again. You don't have to like come home and make dinner every night. So when you look at it that way, what you realize is that there are two periods in your life where you're the master of your own life. And this didn't happen before, because before most people, died, in their 60s and 70s. But now with this opening of new time, and when you realize that there's two times you're the master of your life, when one is in your 20s before you have family and kids, and one is after your kids leave your home, that time is like full of freedom. And these two different age groups do very similar things and are interested in similar things. They're interested in similar experiences. They don't have a lot of money maybe, but they have some disposable income, and they use that income to have good food, travel, read, learn new stuff. And that was probably one of our biggest insights, because that speaks to intergenerationality. It speaks to how what we learn from millennials and those younger people can actually serve to solve problems for older people. And the older generations' insights and knowledge, as well as challenges in solving those challenges, could help this younger generation. So it creates this wonderful circle of life, which then brings us to universal design. And our whole perspective coming out of this work is really the things that we learn from older people, and the things that we can solve for them that could nourish and serve all of us. And so that's really the exciting piece. And that's something that we've believed in, OXO being a great example, right? The OXO potato peeler, you probably all have heard the story of the OXO potato peeler was created by Sam Farber because together with Smart Design, because he watched his wife who had arthritis try and peel potatoes with those old metal potato peelers, and she was really in pain. And he was like, oh my God, like somebody needs to design a proper potato peelers for somebody with arthritis to use without, this shouldn't be so painful. And then that product became a product for everyone. We love those products. And so that in a way, a long-winded way of saying that's the real opportunity here is this duality and parallel that we realized has emerged that didn't exist before, and that has so much potential for opportunity. And I'll stop here.
Great. So maybe we can talk in our last 10 minutes before we get to the Q&A. Where do we go from here? I'll ask the question and I'll answer the question myself, and then I'll get to
how you're doing that. Thank you. I'm like, what was the question I'm supposed to ask? And while you do that, I left my notes. So you start us on that. I'm gonna go get my notes.
It's okay, don't worry about it. But anyway, so from a I'm curious, just from a what does this mean for entrepreneurs, companies and governments? And then Aisha is going to talk a little bit about from a designers and everyone who's here for product innovation and or social innovation, right? So one of the beautiful things that came out of this project was a co-design kit, right? So we created an experience for older adults that can be replicated, which we replicated all throughout the 15 workshops, you know, iterated and improved. And the final point was really something that anyone can use, facilitate, bring to their communities, and make it accessible to anyone who's interested that is not a trained facilitator like I am or Aisha is, or any other team members that we have, or not a designer or a researcher. So I will share that with you just here on my screen, and we put in the links. Oops, Aisha, you need to give me the co-host so I can share. And then the other, I think the other bigger question is for companies, what does this mean? How are these insights? And there's a really big, long report you're welcome to read that really talks about these 4 opportunity areas that we've seen as love, work, vitality, and friendship. And then also all the other sub themes that we have come across, everything from community to time management to motivation and things like that, where these larger themes and concepts can be then applied to your industry, and you can start thinking of, well, what does that really mean for me, for my team, for my company, and creating memorable and great experiences that everyone can benefit from. Because the last thing we want to do is create specific products for 65 plus, where, you know, and I think that's the issue right now with a lot of the industry work, that you know, a lot of the services and products are created with this idea of what might a 70-year-old want versus what they actually want. So it's an idea. So Eric actually gives a great example for this. Eric, can I put you on the spot about your Tinder example?
Sure. And I know Aisha likes to use Tinders for other examples too. But so I was just trying to think why it's so weird for this cohort. You know, because a lot of things that we saw for older adults were designed for like a family caregiver, what they want, or what the healthcare system, which we're guilty of too at the Scan Foundation, what the healthcare system wants an older adult to do, and not really like with or for directly the older adult. And to me, that's just kind of strange if you think about it for any other cohort. So imagine for a dating service, right? Like instead of designing for the person that's dating, let's say Tinder was designed for parents to find dates for their adult children. So it's like, would that work? Parents want their kids to date. They want them to be happy. Kids, you know, adults want to date. So perfect. They'll make matches for their kids.
Yeah. So I think this kind of work and these insights really led us to think, how can we change that paradigm of designing for versus designing with? And for government, for instance, could be inclusive ways of getting older adults to participate and not just be heard, but, you know, co-design their services with them. For entrepreneurs, working with venture labs like Alive, and you know, finding sort of like-minded creatives that value this cohort, but also not a do-good kind of a idea, but really recognizing the impact and impact that this cohort may have. So with that, Aisha, what does this mean for designers and our clients? And we'll finish off with that.
I mean, just what it means is just look at us. We feel so privileged to be working in this area where it's one of the last frontiers of design, where there is, as Seda mentioned, a huge market with an incredible kind of spending force that nobody's really tapping into, with, you know, all of us coming into this space with incredible sophistication. So the group we're talking about has experience of Airbnb, Starbucks, beautiful hotels, JetBlue, you name it, like very used to great design. And you know, do we expect them to grow older and suddenly go, okay, all I need is like a gray metallic, you know, stroller with like tennis balls at the end? Of course not. Like that can't, that to me feels so backwards. So I think if we think of some of the bellwethers of like what's changing, I mean, Don Norman wrote a beautiful article in Fast Company that I would recommend everyone to read, where he really outlines the potential of design for the older people. You know, the fact that Alive Ventures, I think the first venture studio that's dedicated to serving and creating companies for older people around love, vitality, work, and friendship is an incredible indicator of the opportunity for entrepreneurs and designers in this space. Yves Behar, who is one of the best designers working in the States today, has just designed 2 projects or products for aging. Chip Conley and his Elders Academy is a great sign. One of our new projects working with Minka around creating an appliance for living for older people. And also entrepreneurs growing older, designers growing older. And with that, having an internal empathy for what it means to be in your 50s and closer to your 60s is also a big driver, similar to what happened with Seda and Leah and I, where we were like, one, you know, you see your parents aging and you have empathy for them, but then you realize, you know, time doesn't stop for you, you're also aging. And with that, a big piece of it is really using co-design as a methodology, because co-design builds trust. It's a two-way street. It builds understanding from the designers and the company's perspective and understanding of the user. But from the end user's perspective, it builds trust that these people want to understand, want to keep you in the mix as they create these ideas, that you're part of a community rather than somebody who's on the outside. So I would think that these are and plus an optimistic view of aging. I hope that if nothing, that you come out of this session with a very optimistic view of aging. It doesn't mean that we don't have health problems. It doesn't mean that, you know, insurance systems are very difficult to navigate. It doesn't mean that it's easy to save for retirement. It simply means that those are not the only indicators of a long life. And the notion of being able to love yourself and love others, being able to start new projects, learn things, find satisfaction in helping others, regardless of what your age is, and from that finding purpose. I could go on and on. I mean, that's the beauty of aging, and we also have so much to learn. So on that note, Seda, is this a time where we look for questions?
Yes,
And I
and before we do that, I just want to show my screen to you real quick. So the links that I posted in the chat box, and we'll send you the links after this. But this is the co-design kit that the Scan Foundation grant helped us to put together. It has everything from being able to prep for it and to run the session, has a content that can be applied to whatever topic that you're interested in exploring with older people. So this is available free, and in the we have the URLs for that. These are, so I want to do a call out to Peter Arkell, who's right now here. I haven't worked directly with Peter, but these are his illustrations, and these are the people that we co-designed with. Just from all around the country, and create community this way. And then we also have the insights report that you can check out, where it really goes deep into what are some strategies and product ideas or innovation opportunities in these areas that that can be an impactful way to engage this cohort. All right, so that's that. All right, let's get to some questions.
I have a question. Yeah. Hey, this is Jenny. I have a quick question. One, I love the insight about aging being more like that first independence from home, because I think we tend to treat aged people more like children than young adults, which I thought was interesting. Did you all see anything insightful or any difference in gender at all in terms of their expectations or how they're approaching aging and their needs?
I'm going to take that, but that said, you continue. Yeah. We actually found women to be incredibly powerful and come into their own in later life, and truly, like when Seda was referring to love, one of the things that we heard very strongly was like, I'm not going to lose myself for somebody else. I love myself. Thank you very much. This was all women. And I'm not going to merge homes, and I'm not going to be your caregiver. But I still want to have love and intimacy, but I keep my home. I do the things I love. And it was just like things like that. That one of my favorite examples was somebody in Mississippi, a woman who was a grandma, maybe a great grandma, who talked to us about, like, we were talking about, like, how do you pass your time, and expecting, like, I bake cookies. She said, well, actually my brother, and Seda and Leah and my team, I have to share this example, so it's my favorite example, but she was like, my brother built me a little hut in the woods, and I have a little old office chair, and I go up the couple steps, I sit in that, and then with my gun, she says, I just swivel right and left until game passes me by, and boom. And we were like, oh my God. So yeah, women are strong.
So there's some other questions here.
You wanna just one more thing though. Do you want to share that example of how to find a boyfriend?
Yeah, well, sure, I can. It wasn't on an app, but so one of the participants told us that she was at an ATM, and she was getting some money. It was later at night. This is in New York City. And then there's a gentleman around her age came in, and she turned around, like, kind of, you get worried a little bit, right? As a woman, like, you're in the dark at ATM and someone's coming in. So she turned around, and the guy said, don't worry, I'm not gonna, like, rob you. I'll stay back, kind of a thing. And our participant, who's this very humorous woman, and humor actually came up incredibly often in terms of, like, how to inject humor in life. and really just have that kind of a outlook. She said, "Oh no, I was wondering if you're just taking out some money to take me out to breakfast tomorrow morning." And then they actually had a date after that and all of that. So, you know, I guess love happens in ATMs as well as probably apps too. So,
Yeah. And Tinder needs to capture that humor and that kind of 360 person, right? So
Yeah.
that's what we're excited
absolutely.
about.
So there's some questions. When I lived in Japan and China, that comes from Denise. I was very moved about how the children felt loyal to their parents and took care of them. In the US, there's a major emphasis on the parents living independently. Can you share some of the cultural differences you found?
Yeah. So, I mean, one of the cultural differences that we found, actually, I just want to bring this to COVID and our times, Denise, for a second. This notion of independence, I think, has really changed and is now transformed due to COVID. And what we're finding is that people are much more aware that we're not an individual. We are part of society, and we need to take care of each other. And so I'm really optimistic about the lessons that we're learning through COVID, and how children moving into their parents' homes or bringing their parents into, you know, their older parents bringing into their homes, and that this notion of multi-generality is really becoming so obvious for us to be able to survive together. So I just want to, I mean, throughout this project, so Seda and I being from Turkey, and Leah being, you know, American, but with an Italian husband and very like steeped in Italian culture, and our multicultural team, in, you know, John also at Alive, we all have these memories of Europe and the Middle East and Asia, where people just gather under a tree in a village, and they're like grandparents and parents and young children, and they just hang out together. And one of our goals is to replicate that in the States, because I think that's something that we're missing here. And there's no reason for us to miss here. I think we do believe in similar things, but somehow our urban environments and our culture, our you know, services and third spaces don't provide for that, and we're really missing out. So that's some of the things that I think are waiting to happen. And we're, you know, we feel like if WeWork can create a new culture and community around work through a corporation, right, through a thriving business, if Starbucks can create cafes, we feel like there are entrepreneurs out there who will create these new spaces that are that people of all generations can come and have an amazing experience. We're ready. And we're going to work on those things. You know, that's our goal. And I hope you all are planning on working on those things as well, because we can do this together.
Yeah, I mean, just driving by in China and seeing all these people gathering outside dancing at night. They just put the stereo on and they're all dancing together, and it's all multi-generational. It's just all these things that I lived there for 9 years and Japan 15. It's like it became part of it. And then I came to the US and I'm like, it's just nothing like that here. So that's why I was asking.
Yeah, that's a great point. All right, I think we want to be very respectful of your time. So if you do have other questions, please put it into the chat box, or Seda, did you have our emails? I think everybody has our emails.
My emails, but I'll put it again. And then I just want to leave you with also check out Alive Ventures, as you're also checking out our Insights Report or Co-Design Kit. It's aliveventure.co. It's in the links. But this is also something we worked on with TSF, and then resulting in a venture lab working on exciting ideas for 50 plus years.
So on that note, thank you everyone for joining us. We hope that we were able to give you a sense of our project, our passion for it, and also we're very grateful to the SCAN Foundation and the team at SCAN Foundation at welcoming us with open arms and making us their partners in co-designing with older adults, and also Alive Ventures, which is a fruit of our project with TSF, and about which we're incredibly excited. And we hope that we were able to mobilize you as well. There's so much potential in this space that we hope we could do this together. And for everything that we didn't have time for, the report is quite dense, but very readable. And Seda put a lot of time into it. So please, and Leah and Meltem did too, and please read it. And then just take the facilities guide and do some co-design with these amazing people and have fun. And let us know if we can be of help.